Ring, ring. Hello, what's that?
Damn, Daniel!
Damn, I got a new fit. But I digress. Welcome back to the channel as the home for absolutely awful shit posts and edits. And today, for the 5-year anniversary of my channel, I know I don't have 5 years worth of content on here because most of it has been privatized, and we will look at that in another video here soon, hopefully. Today, I want to look at the first few seasons of a show I hold near and dear to my heart and help create the channel in a way, and that is LEGO Ninjago. It's a 2011 CGI LEGO cartoon, and I started this channel mainly because of it. I was inspired by a ton of Ninjago fan stop-motion series and wanted to make my own. So I started working on that, and that's the main reason why this channel exists in the first place, besides giving myself something that I can use for myself. And I do have these thoughts still lingering in my mind about plots and characters to introduce, like any good Ninjago stop-motion series. They have subsided to an extent. They aren't the main focus. I think I found my place doing video reviews, and I hope to continue doing them. But for today, I'd love to take maybe 20 minutes of your time and ramble on a show that I genuinely care about. So without further ado, let's start with a Ninjago review. So apparently Netflix has removed the 2 pilot episodes off of its catalog, and instead of finding them on YouTube, which would be miles easier, I thought it would be funnier to look at an old Scholastic Ninjago book I own. I got it many years ago, and it has a brief novelization, quote-unquote, of the first pilot episode. So in short, Kai and his sister Nia run their parents' blacksmith shop, and eventually the Skullkin army arrives in search of a map, and they kidnap Nia. Sensei Wu offers to help Kai by becoming a ninja. He eventually complies and completes the training course, and meets with the other 3 ninja. Jay, the Master of Lightning, Cole, my personal favorite and the Master of Earth, and Zane, the Master of Ice. And one of my favorite characters now after rewatching the series. They set off to obtain the size of Quakes at a Skullkin camp, and they get caught, but they escape after figuring out how to use Spinjitzu. And the second episode, which I'm going off by memory, but I remember it fairly well, just follows in getting the other 3 golden weapons, and then using the Tornado of Creation to infiltrate Garmadon's Dark Fortress. Then Samukai, the Skullkin General, implodes.
Skip it up and down up.
So, Season 1 of Ninjago starts with a brief monologue from Sensei Wu about how Garmadon wants the golden weapons, Sensei Wu is Garmadon's brother, and that Sensei Wu has gathered a group of ninja to protect the golden weapons. It establishes the overarching narrative, some important plot details, and the reason Sensei Wu brought the ninja together in the first place. This is also great for viewers who may have missed the pilot, or just never saw it before. Good stuff. So, I'm not going to go in depth for each episode or anything. I have a deadline, and I need to rush a bit to make it. And I don't really want to make a 4-hour-long Ninjago analysis, so Rise of the Snake sees the ninja work towards reaching their true potentials, whilst the last Anacondri warrior tries to unite the other 4 Serpentine tribes and resurrect the Great Devourer, an ancient Serpentine snake who becomes larger the more it, well, vores. So the original 4 ninja get a True Potential episode each, and they start with Zane, whose True Potential episode is one of my favorite episodes in the entire series, and truly cemented Zane as becoming one of my new favorite characters in the entire series. There's some solid emotional beats, a great score, and some of the best action for the early Ninjago seasons. And the aging of Dr. Julian throughout Zane's memories is very saddening. Oh, and we get this lovely clip.
It hit me! No!
reveal that Zane was an android the whole time blew my 5-year-old mind to bits. But sadly, the other True Potential episodes just never reach the same highs, and go on a gradual decline as the season progresses. Jay's is pretty solid, just never reaches the same highs. Cole's is a mediocre episode, to be honest. It's just very underwhelming. And Kai's is kinda awful. I don't like it. We don't even get to see it happen, we just see the aftermath. But after the True Potentials, we enter the endgame territory. Lloyd is revealed to be the Green Ninja, a prophecy which states that the Green Ninja will defeat the Dark Lord, that Lord being Garmadon, his father. After acquiring the Fang Blades, Garmadon goes to get milk, Pythor stows away and reclaims the Fang Blades, and we get the first and last appearance of Snake Bus. And then Pythor successfully resurrects the Great Devourer, and is repaid, of course, by being vored by it, along with Sensei Wu. And the finale of the season sees the ninjas try and fail to take down the Great Devourer, until Garmadon steps in and offers to help, but he needs to use the golden weapons. They unwillingly oblige, and the Great Devourer is defeated. And Garmadon once again leaves to go get milk, but this time he has the 4 golden weapons in hand. But turns out Sensei Wu has been alive the entire time. Let's go. And I honestly love some of the minor mentions made to things like Clutch Powers, a 2010 LEGO direct-to-DVD movie I watched to hell and back. And of course I love the intro. It's pure late 2000s cheese, and it just evokes something in me. Just the simple memories of binging the first 2 seasons on Netflix, listening to the banger that is The Weekend Whip. Better times. One qualm I see a fair amount of people have with the show is the animation, and I see why. In the earlier seasons, this was made to make some bonus money and advertise toys, so of course it is so flat looking. Eventually they do improve the animation in Season 8 to a more minor extent, and it greatly improves in Season 11, adding better texturing, lighting, and an overall more polished feel to the movements and animation as a whole. And now, I would love to make a segment talking about the strappingly delightful Pythor P. Chelmsworth. And what a villain. In his introductory episode, he has this softer tone and much more mild inflections when talking to Lloyd, so he can manipulate him to his own ends and eventually gain the map to the other Serpentine tombs. And he just kills it. Afterwards, he has this regal yet sinister voice with a slight unhinged undertone, almost like a British Beast Wars Megatron, and I love it. He is the highlight of the entire first season, and you can't prove otherwise since you most likely won't watch the series after this video. So this season picks up almost directly after the first season. Ninjago City is rebuilding, the ninja are homeless, and they no longer have elemental powers after losing the golden weapons. Speaking of the golden weapons, Garmadon goes to the Golden Peaks to reforge all of them into one mega weapon, creatively dubbed the Mega Weapon. This allows Garmadon to make one wish every day, and it will come true. Yeah, this season has a clear decline in its storytelling and writing. They even use the Serpentine as the main army once again, so I'm not going to talk about them. Simply put, if you decide to watch this season, skip episodes 2 to 6 of Legacy of the Green Ninja. Whilst episode 1 is also filler, I think it's not all too bad of an episode, and I still do really enjoy it. And all of the important things in the filler episodes you really need to know are Lloyd ages like 6 years in the span of 1 day, and the ninja go back in time to the pilot and the mecha weapon is destroyed using the past versions of the golden weapons. And now for the latter half of the season. The plotline focuses on Garmadon arriving on a dark island, which has an entity instructing Garmadon on what to do to prepare for the final battle, taking control of the Stone Army, excavating concentrated evil, and making sure the celestial clock keeps ticking to ensure the final battle will commence. The ninja also arrive on the island, along with Zane's father, who was resurrected by Samukai, but was forced to create the Skulkin army's vehicles and machinery, and Misako, Lloyd's mother. The ninja do find the Temple of Light, which gives them elemental blades, allowing them to use their powers once again, after failing to stop the celestial clock and become stranded on the island as Garmadon, now possessed by the entity from earlier, who turns out to be the Overlord, the antithesis to the first Spinjitzu Master. With help from the Ultra Dragon and Lloyd using the golden mech of the first Spinjitzu Master, they arrive in an Overlord-ruled Ninjago, eventually fighting their way up his tower. Lloyd reaches his true potential, becoming the Golden Ninja, defeating the Overlord and saving Ninjago. And Garmadon is now a human, as he used to be. And that concluded the series, once and for all. Whilst the season has some great moments in its final half, it's really bogged down by the dreadful first half. Also, there isn't going to be a major section on the Overlord since he isn't even half as interesting as Pythor. And Garmadon was never one of my favorite villains either. He just never struck me as a huge threat, and that rewatch really didn't help. This is absolutely the definition of a filler season, even though it's the final season, strangely enough. So, LEGO has this rule for unlicensed action themes. 3 years and you're done. Maybe a TV series to accompany you, maybe a small series of shorts, maybe even a small direct-to-DVD movie. And Ninjago seemingly succumbed to the same fate. The next show, Legends of Chima, had already started airing. The sets started getting pushed off the shelves in favor of the new Chima sets, and the series had a big finale to end the show and tie up all the loose ends into a nice little bow. But then, something strange happened. On January 29th, 2014, 8-year-old me watched as my favorite show returned to my screen. I could not tell you how excited I was at the prospect that my favorite show had beaten death. Ninjago Rebooted aired, and I loved it. This season starts with Ninjago rebuilding yet again. This time, they improved on the city, rather than rebuilding what once was. A man named Cyrus Borg spearheaded this, creating hover cars, service robots, and a large tower in the middle of the city where the Overlord was defeated. He invites the original 4 ninja to his tower to secretly give them the Technoblades, which allow the ninja to hack anything, including vehicles. And the now digital Overlord, in anger, takes control of New Ninjago City, and works towards hunting the ninja down, more specifically Lloyd. After the ninja take out New Ninjago City's power station, the Overlord is now seemingly gone, until a hooded figure with the Overlord's hard drive appears, reactivating Ninjroids, the season's main cannon fodder, with electric eels. And eventually, the hooded figure is revealed as Pythor, no longer sporting his lean colors in favor of some calcium colors. Eventually, Lloyd's golden power is almost completely drained, and he decides to use the last of it to restore the ninja's elemental powers. The Ninjroids prepare to go to an asteroid to acquire the now melted golden weapons from when the mega weapon was destroyed. And the ninja follow suit. After making their way back to New Ninjago City, it's too late. The Overlord has returned to a physical form and is using the very powers that defeated him against the ninja. In the end, after all the ninja fail, Zane, the season's main character, sacrifices himself to defeat the Overlord. But similarly to the Overlord, he is now digital and begins to rebuild himself in Cyrus Borg's factory. This season, whilst short, is fantastic. It is a bit rushed, and whilst looking up some information for this video, I recently found out why the Overlord is seemingly gone after the 2nd episode of the season. It's because at first, they only thought they were getting 2 episodes, then 4, then the 8 we now have today. And it makes sense. Plot lines jump in and out constantly, but there is always a main goal. defeat the Overlord, and prevent him from returning ever again. I also can't hate this season because of how much hype I had for it. The final battle may have generated a ton of hype because it was the finale, but the return of Ninjago just did something more for me, I think. And they only released 2 episodes every 2 to 3 months, and whilst I didn't like it back then, in retrospect, I think I genuinely love it. It creates this sense of finality. Like, this is a big thing. If this was the final season of Ninjago, it would have been a damn good one to send off with. So, as I previously mentioned, shortly after the Season 2 finale of Ninjago, a new show started airing, and it was supposedly made by the same people? What could this new show be? Legends of Chima, I already said it earlier. A series not very well received, and I can see why. The concept, whilst new, quote-unquote, wasn't as interesting as Ninjago, and the show overall lacked an overarching narrative. This, I believe, was one of the show's major downfalls. No overarching narrative or goal didn't make viewers want to keep watching, and with this lack of narrative, there wasn't any huge finales similarly to Ninjago. Season 1 of Ninjago had this huge battle between the ninja and the Great Devourer, concluding with Garmadon defeating it and stealing the golden weapons, which created intrigue as to what would happen in the next season. Season 1 of Chima just, ended, and the start of Season 2 kind of acted as a finale in tying up the loose ends with the scorpions, bats, and spiders. But still. And it also has some of the terrible names, just Kragger, Laval, and Gorzan. That's all I gotta say. And the final nail in the coffin was the revival of Ninjago in 2014. But that's all about Chima for now. I might do a video on it, along with the 3rd series, Nexo Knights. So, Nexo Knights started airing in 2016, and it followed a group of futuristic knights along with their digital wizard man who fills the role of Sensei Wu, trying to stop Jestro, the show's main villain. The show fell into a very formulaic structure. Whatever episodic event is introduced, and one of the main characters is a major part in it. Jestro learns about it and summons a monster by the Book of Monsters recommendation. Chaos ensues, and the Nexo Knights use a new Nexo power to stop it, and some sort of lesson is learned. Like, don't be a dickhead. But even the show had formulaic characters. There's just 5 basic archetypes. Leader, girl, muscle, narcissist, and laid-back lad. And same happened in the 3rd season pretty much, but after that I have no clue what happened as I stopped watching. Very, very mediocre and very formulaic. So, I believe I've made my thoughts on this series clear. I love it. It may not be the most well-written or deep show ever, but it's not trying to be. It's trying to be an enjoyable action cartoon for kids to love. And in a world where those are becoming few and far between, the show sticks out even more. If you have any interest in the series after this video, go check it out. It's not a huge commitment, and if you turn your mind off and enjoy it for what it is, I think you'll have an enjoyable time. Now, time for scores. Rise of the Snakes will get a 9 out of 10. I'm taking nostalgia bias into this 100%. I love this season. It just makes me feel like a 7-year-old again. Legacy of the Green Ninja gets a 4 out of 10. This season, as previously stated, is dreadful. Even on this rewatch, where I skipped all of the filler except for the first episode, I still dreaded watching it. And finally, Rebooted gets a 9 out of 10 as well. Especially with my newfound enjoyment of Zane. Oh, and The Weekend Whip gets a prestigious 10 out of 10. I'm disappointed they ditched it after Season 7, but who knows? Maybe it returns in a later season. Now I need to go get my
Logos minted.